Is Joseph Mathunjwa the most powerful man in the country right now after a harrowing strike that crippled the platinum industry for 5 months and 24 billion rands worth of revenue losses later? My producers, not the platinum producers, thought it was high time that we got to know the man behind the Association of Mine Workers and Construction Union, AMCU. Tonight we're live taking your tweets. I'm Bruce Whitfield. In the next 30 minutes I'll be talking about a guy who comes across as mild-mannered. He's a lay preacher. He's a leading light also behind a union on everyone's lips. His name is Joseph Mathunjwa. He's the president of AMCU. Are you the most powerful man in the country right now?
No.
You held an entire industry at bay for 5 months. That's powerful.
No, the people who were enslaved for so many decades were the ones that were looking for their dignity. I happen to be a leader chosen by them to lead the way.
Were you chosen? How were you chosen?
Or elected.
How were you elected? I mean, because you were a member of NUM until what, 2.5 years ago, thereabouts?
No, AMCU is almost 12 to 13 years now.
Yeah, but you left NUM when?
That was what, late 89.
Okay, but why did you leave NUM?
Well, it was the organizational challenges by then. So hence then we left, like a son leaving a parent's home.
But if AMCU has been around for the last 12 to 13 years, what has led to this huge surge in public perception of AMCU the last 2 years, just pre-Marikana? We first began to hear more about AMCU. What took so long then to get off the ground?
No, it's not that we took too long to get off the ground. We were in KZN and some other provinces, Limpopo, we were there. So it's not about, it happens that most of the mine workers, the majority in the platinum sector, you remember the coal mine doesn't have such number as platinum.
Give me a sense of when you were elected then as AMCU leader?
I'm the founder of AMCU, by the way.
Okay.
Yes. And subsequent to that, there were Congress and I was really elected.
Okay, so you've been the leader of AMCU for the last 12 years.
Yes.
What has led to the surge in influence of AMCU then over the last 2 years? Was Marikana the key catalyst for you?
Not at all. I mean, AMCU has been known for many instances. In BHP Bulletin, we've challenged dismissal, unfair retrenchment, of which we won in Labour Court. So we saved many jobs in many sectors.
You saved many jobs in many sectors. You've come to a point now in the platinum sector standoff where you have agreed to a wage settlement with the platinum sector. It is a wage settlement that's taken 5 months to achieve. Have you won?
I think it's a breakthrough rather than saying we won. It's a breakthrough towards the right path for our members or the working class in the mining sector to achieve decent salaries.
Okay, so achieving decent salaries. You talk earlier about you saving jobs in mining groups like BHP Bulletin, for example, which, to the best of my knowledge, is largely disinvested from South Africa right now.
Yes.
Do you think that could be as a consequence of some of the negotiations that they've gone through with you?
No, I think it's how we are a principal union, and we are the union that is driven by the mandate by our members, and some of the skills. Yes, we got it around those mines when we're negotiating.
When we look at the settlement that you've achieved for your miners, is it the best possible settlement under the circumstances?
I mean, you remember at the end of the day, there's no media house was giving us a chance. We were on our own with our members. But for the fact, yes, the settlement, our members feel very strong that as for now, yes, let's give it a chance.
Post-Marikana, you were talking about 12,500. You wouldn't budge from 12,500. You've budged. Did you have to compromise quite significantly?
That's negotiations. I mean, we wanted 12,500 at a go. As we negotiate, taking the mandate from our members, we moved to 4 years and subsequent to the current settlement.
You've taken a very different approach to labour relations. There's been the collective bargaining process, which has served South Africa and the corporate sector and COSATU for most of the last 20 years. You've turned the bargaining process on its head You haven't gone into the collective bargaining process. You've stood outside of that bargaining process. When the former Deputy President, Kgalema Motlanthe, was appointed by the President to try to negotiate a way through in the last 2 years dealing with mining sector issues, you haven't participated actively in that. What has been your strategy in terms of dealing with the issues that you see in the mining sector, standing away from rather than being part of a formal process?
No, we didn't stand away from the bargaining processes. You'll remember even before the massacre at Lonmin, I was the one who was preaching that, comrade, take a step backwards, take your issues through CCMA, get certificate, and you go to a protected strike. I was advocating that. And these mines are not part of the bargaining council. They negotiate on its own at the workplace. So therefore, this is what we've been doing currently. And coming to the deputy president processes, those processes, we made some input to it, that if we want stability in the mine, firstly, let the politician not to be part of the BE in the very same mine, because they are conflicted. You cannot be a politician and then at the same time you want to be a BE partner. We've seen in Marikana, there was this toxic relationship. So therefore, is one of many other recommendations that we put, of which was never considered. And in the actual fact, the process of the deputy president was not about stability, was to protect NUM, Solidarity and UWASA. Because
has that been a big problem? Because I remember Susan Shabangu, the former mines minister, going to a NUM Congress and openly stating that that the NUM was part of COSATU, COSATU was part of the Tripartite Alliance, and her support would go very much that way. Has government ever been an honest broker in negotiations, as far as you're concerned?
We've seen Blade Nzimande openly criticizing AMCU, calling a vigilante union, and we reported this to the then Deputy President Motlanthe. He'd done nothing about it. We've seen many politicians vilifying AMCU, and then at the same time they want to come and say they are the peace brokers. It's tantamount to lying to themselves.
We've seen the evidence led this week by Mr. X in the Marikana Commission. Mr. X talking about his role and the role he played in the run-up to what became known as the Marikana massacre. We've heard about the Muti, we've heard about the killing of security guards, we've heard about the violence that preceded that Marikana Commission, the Marikana incident. Why would people not call AMCU, which was instrumental in those early days, and you call yourself a principled union, why would they not call you a vigilante union? Certainly behaving like vigilantes at the time, wouldn't you?
But then you must ask yourself, who calls us vigilante union? Is Blade Nzimande? Who's Blade Nzimande? Blade Nzimande is the secretary of the alliance, of the SACP. So who claims to be the vanguard of the working class. Hence, if he was a vanguard of the working class, he's the one that should be above all this petty union politics, because he's the one that should embrace every union.
When you look at the run-up to Marikana, we need to talk about this as well. You talk about yourselves as being principled unions. We talk about people who were taking muti, people who believed, who were preparing for conflict and potentially violent conflict, according to the evidence led by Mr. X. Do you take responsibility for that as the leader of AMCU?
No, why should we take responsibility? Was there only AMCU members were in the mountain? Where was AMCU? Because AMCU at Lonmin had no bargaining rights at all. That's why we were not part to any processes leading to that massacre, because we couldn't approach Lonmin in terms of mutual interest matters. So it was an NUM matter with its members who were the members of NUM.
But certainly you're capitalizing on the Marikana massacre.
No.
Politically, you are capitalizing on the Marikana massacre. Now, in retrospect, either you were part of it and you were instrumental in leading that process then, or now you're taking advantage of the process. Please.
Can I assist you? When all these processes started that led to the massacre at Lonmin, we were in our office in Witbank. We were approached by the company at a later stage to come and assist. Then we told them that, how can we come and assist on issues of mutual interest where we don't have bargaining rights? Because this issue was about monies for RDOs. So we don't have any right to talk about money. We never put any demands. So this was an issue between the management of Loan Min and the majority union, who has the majority and the right to bargain.
It's very nearly 2 years since the Marikana massacre. It's taken an indescribably long period of time to get to the bottom of this, and we know closer to understanding really what happened on that day. Is the Marikana Commission going to find an acceptable version of the truth as to what occurred on the mountain on that day?
I cannot preempt. It's incumbent to the Judge Falem, who's been given those powers to find out what led to that. But I think at the end of the day, the truth will come up, and it will set everyone free, including myself.
When we look at the wage settlement that you've now agreed on, it's a long way away from getting everybody the 12,500 rand that was promised in the aftermath of Marikana. Are the mine workers
Who
victors?
promised? Let's start there. Who promised?
12,500 has been the AMCU rallying cry ever since Marikana. You can't deny that.
No. Let me assist you. When this issue of 12,000 started, we were not a bargaining agent or a union.
Where did it come from then?
It comes from the mountain, from the workers itself.
But the
Remember,
workers are members of AMCU who gave you this mandate to negotiate for 12,500. It's become their rallying cry.
Yes. We were given after AMCU was recognized as a what? As a union that is a majority that has a bargaining rights. So then the mandate was given to us officially. By then it was workers themselves.
Okay, but have you achieved what the workers want?
I mean, we are in the path, to achieving. In the very same 3 years that we entered to with this 3 platinum mine, some of the workers will receive 12,500 within these 3 years. And some, yes, maybe 2017 will be achieving that.
Lots of calculations have been done. On average, according to research that has been done in the last couple of days, looking back at the last 5 months, platinum strikers sacrificing 52,000 rand in wages, no work, no pay, in order to get about 932 rand a month. That doesn't feel like a victory.
So what is a victory is to stay in this slave salary for the rest of their lives and generation to come.
So have today's workers taken a sacrifice for future generations?
Even now, as of the 1st of July, there will be no worker who will be earning less than 7,000 rand. So it is a breakthrough, of course, rather than NUM who went and signed with Anglo 400 rand for 2 years, of which it gives a worker who's earning 4,800 rand, in what?
But
in 2 years.
NUM workers wouldn't have had to sacrifice 50,000 rand in wages over a period of 5 months in order to achieve a minuscule increase.
How much did we sacrifice today to call South Africa a rainbow nation? How much have we sacrificed? Do we count what we have sacrificed?
Joseph Mathunjwa, I'm going to push pause right there. I'm looking forward to continuing this discussion in just a moment. AMCU's President Joseph Mathunjwa live with me in studio, reflecting on some of your comments and questions in just a moment. This is Tonight. I'm Bruce Whitfield. We're live this evening with AMCU's President Joseph Mathunjwa. Fascinating discussion on expectation and who promised what when, but certainly lots of detail coming through this evening, and I'm looking forward to continuing this discussion with Joseph Mathunjwa. Did you earn a salary in the last 5 months?
Can we?
Did you earn a salary in the last 5 months?
What is common cause? It's a recycled question, that one.
No, I'm asking.
Yes, yeah, I did.
Can you, do you mind sharing what you've earned as the leader of AMCU over the last 5 months?
Sharing to?
To me, with us who are.
It's been on the paper,
I don't recall.
Paper. I didn't even see it.
Okay.
But I'm not earning as the General Secretary of NUM.
But what, do you earn 20,000 rand a month, 30,000 rand a month? What do you earn?
Yeah, sort of around there.
You dress nicely. Are you, when you look at what you have been earning through the strike process and the enormous sacrifices made by individuals in the mining sector, do you think that you've
I think
done
the
your
strike
fair share?
was not about Joseph Mathunjwa that should work sex and what in order to see that, he's a true leader. And the workers never went on strike to say Joseph Mathunjwa must be living in the shack, but they went on strike to have a better life, even better than Joseph Mathunjwa.
Will workers get a better life as a result of the strike?
There will be. Media was comfortable for last 20 years when these workers were earning 4,500. whereas the CEOs were taking 4.3 million on bonuses. So you were quiet.
Are workers better off after this strike than before?
They will be better off. They will be better off. I mean, that goes without. It doesn't need a rock scientist that if you were earning 4,000 for the last 4,500 for the last 20 years, now you'll be earning 7,000 rand.
But you missed out on 5 months worth of income.
But what is it that 5 months? You're talking about slave salary of 4,000 rand.
But it's going to take these people anything between 5 and 8 years, if they keep their jobs, just to break even, to make up for the last 5 months.
It's better to take 8 years rather than the 300 years of slaves that, I mean, they've been subjected into. It took them how many years? If you look at 1997 indexes, Indians and whites were earning 4,500 in the mining sector, and the black mine worker was earning 1,500, which took a black mine worker to earn 4,500, almost 17 years. So we're suggesting to earn another 9,000 rand, we must add another 17 years.
When Cyril Ramaphosa took the NUM out on strike in the 1980s in the gold mining sector, you remember that very well.
Yeah.
Did you participate? I don't know how far back you go in the mining sector.
No, 1980.
Okay, no, 1980. It's a long time ago.
No,
but
still at school.
There were more than 1 million people employed in the South African mining sector. There are now about 500,000 people employed in the South African mining sector across the different industries. So the workforce is about half. There are some projections that 5 years from now, courtesy of the action taken by AMCU and its members, we could see greater mechanization of mines. We could see the closure of mines. We could see capital scared away from South Africa. And 5 years from now, there could be 250,000 people employed in the mining sector. Would that concur with any projections you might have?
But let's look at this. We've got the laws that allow this willy-nilly job losses, which encourages. I mean, the mines are closing mothball, even there is no strike at all. The capitals wants to increase, or I mean, the profit. They do it in the expense of the working class. So no one can tell us that by going on a protected strike for better living, now we are scaring the investors.
Lonmin may need to go back to its shareholders for additional capital this year. Impala Platinum might need to go back to its shareholders. Certainly in the last 3 years, all of the mining companies have had to go to their shareholders, the providers of capital, to ask for more money in order to stay in business.
What about the last 10 years, whereby these platinum mines were getting big monies? Some of them, they took it to Brazil to start new mines. And that profit, which was supposed to be plowed back to South Africa, we are not talking about that. Why?
Does this strike create a sustainable mining sector? Does it create a sustainable mining sector for decades to come?
Yes, it is. I mean, they had to realize that they must pay the workers decent salary. If the mine workers can, as the media project that the mine workers has put the economy into its knees. Contrary, it's the truth that the workers should be paid a decent salary.
If it comes at the cost of jobs, and we've seen the mothballing, Anglo-American Platinum, for example, closed down, I think it was 2 shafts. There are 2 shafts in Rustenburg. It also closed down one of the shafts at Union as well. They're now operating just 3 shafts at Rustenburg, 1 at Union. Other mines have also mothballed shafts, as well as the platinum prices remained stubbornly low, around $1,400, $1,450 an ounce. There's more of this to come. Surely there's no guarantee in your agreement with the bosses that there are going to be no retrenchments. Retrenchments are coming.
But let me make a simple example. If the price of the petrol goes high, who bear the brunt? It's us who use the petrol. Now, if now the issue about platinum, as long we are still the price takers, we don't make price on those, we don't put price on those platinum, we'll suffer. So the one who need the platinum is the one who must bear the price. Let South African put the prices on their own commodities. Why should our price be deducted by the foreign investors? Why don't we own our own commodities and put the price on our stuff?
Tell me how this develops from here. You've gone to the Labour Court. The Labour Court has barred AMCU from taking gold miners out on strike. Is that the end of the story in the gold mining sector? Do you remain determined to take gold miners out on strike as well?
Yeah, we are determined, to pursue other avenues, because we believe that we are right. It's our right to pursue decent salary. It's our right to embark on a protected strike. And you remember those mines are independent. Chamber of Mine is not a bargaining council. It's an employers organization. It's a convenient relation that they have with NUM, since NUM was the only union by then with these minority unions called Solidarity and WASA. So now when AMCU came to board, and now they want to try to suffocate AMCU. Chamber of Mine, I don't recognize them.
Do you recognize Nwako Ramatlhodi, the new Minister of Mines?
I recognize it because he's a government official, as a Minister of DMR.
Okay, but do you recognize him as a legitimate player in the future relationship in the mining sector relationships between government, between the private sector and the unions?
I mean, for the few days that he was part of this engagement, he came with a very serious fresh air, but subsequent to that he was recalled. So therefore I still respect him.
Does that undermine the credibility of the DMR in negotiations in the future?
I think the DMR was not part of the wage. He came as to assist the parties.
Did he assist?
Yes, indeed, he did assist until such time he was recalled.
When you look at the landscape right now, we've had a massively adversarial strike. It has damaged relationships in the mining sector. The public relations practitioners on both sides, on the union side and also within the mining sector, would have us believe that this is a new era in the labour relations environment in South Africa. How do you see this new era unfolding?
The new era, I see it as this time that the mine workers must be paid a decent salary.
Even if it means fewer mine workers 5 years from now?
I mean, how many people, let's not patronize this strike as if we are very much humane about it. How many people go to bed without food currently who are not on strike?
But that's not the debate. The debate here is we have people who have employed at lousy salaries, but they at least are employed.
At least.
But if 5 years from now, you look back on this, and mine workers have lost their jobs because mining companies have had to cut jobs because they simply can't afford to keep people employed. Will you say that the strike was a success?
The strike is a success. The question should be, what is the government doing about these mines that are being mothballed by these big conglomerates in the expense of the nation? So if one mine closes down because they don't make profit, the government must take the license and give it to yourself and start the mine and open it. Why should the nation suffer in the expense of profit?
It's either going to be profitable and sustainable,
nationalize it. Nationalize it.
And we see great examples of nationalization around us, which are losing
It's just
money.
about management. It's about how to manage it. Now, even currently, the mines are not nationalized, but doesn't serve the interest. It serves the foreign interest. I mean, at the end of the day, let's be honest.
How are we going to get to a situation where everybody goes back to work, people get a decent wage, and we have a sustainable mining sector in this country before capital withdrawals? You can try and nationalize, but once the money runs out, Mother Russia is a great example of the whole-scale nationalization that was a failed experiment. Is that where we're headed?
No, it's not. You mustn't be selective when you talk about Russia. I mean, how much are they paying, I mean, for their platinum? If US wanted platinum, how much would they pay to Russia? Why are we selling our platinum in dollar? Why are you not selling in euros? So all those things, I mean, the trade policies and all those agreements should be looked at. Why should we suffer when we owe more than 65 or 70% of the platinum's wealth, but we are the most poorest nation? Why? We've got gold, we've got diamond, we've got coal. The only thing that is left in this mine, go to around Rustenburg, full of informal settlement. The environment is not good. There is no infrastructure, there is no school, there is no recreation. What is this mine prepared to do? Show me anything that they are prepared to do.
Joseph Mathunjwa, great pleasure to have you on the show this evening. Thank you very much for coming and telling us firsthand and giving some great insight this evening as to what AMCU's position is in what is likely to be a continued and long-standing fractious relationship, not only between the Mine Workers Union, of course, through AMCU, but also through management, which have put a brave face today, welcoming workers back to work, all jolly hockey sticks and patting each other on the back. Mine workers grateful to be back at work to get a salary. Has Joseph Mathunjwa been successful as the AMCU founder and president in leading his members to a better future? Well, only time is going to tell. Thank you for watching, and thank you for sending us your tweets and your SMSs and all of that this evening. There'll be more tonight, tomorrow. For now, good night and goodbye. Thank you, Joseph Mathunjwa.
Thank you very much.